Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'll show you 2026 Linux administrator with VMware interview questions and answers. Uh, for this interview test, I get a score of 75%, which was not enough. I failed the interview, but not, not this is the idea. Okay, let's start with the questions. First question, true or false? The response was false, was correct. Next questions, the use of AI in network interface will eliminate the need of regular software updates. This was false because of course you need to update your system every time updates are available. Next question, what is the primary function of IAM package manager in Linux? To manage installed software packages. For example, yum install package name or yum update package name and will update. Yum remove to remove and so on. Which feature of VMware tool allow for the creation of consistent backup of VMs without disrupting their operation? The response there was VMware Snapshot. Next question. How DNS spoofing can be prevented? Here I have response by using HTTPS and using DNSSEC, but SIM was wrong. The correct response should be by using DNSSEC and by using DNS over HTTPS. Next question, what is the primary purpose of VMware Power CLI? Here I have response. My response was to provide the command line interface for managing VMware vSphere, and the correct response was to automate tasks in VMware vSphere. Next question. What are two correct ways to deploy vCenter server? Deploy as a Linux virtual machine was my response, and deploy as a virtual appliance. But seemed the correct response was install on a Windows server and deploy as a virtual appliance. Next question was to align the elements to the right categories. Was wrong. Few of them were correct and 3 of them were wrong. Next question. Categorize the elements based on the role in Internet of Things, 5G and edge computing. Again, my response was wrong there. Next question, what does the strace command? My response was it manages the memory usage of a process, but the correct response is trace systems, calls and signals. Linux systems are immune to malware and do not require any form of protection or detection mechanism. This was false because it's wrong. Audit can monitor both system and user activities. This is true, and the response was correct. Which of the following is a common vulnerability in severity ranging scale? I've responded here CVE, but it's CVSS. How can you list all the installer packages with RPM? RPM-QE. RPM-V is the verbose, E is for erase. You need to delete a package. RPM-E and the package name. -E, I don't know if it's relevant. Again, not sure if might be user, but I'm not sure. Next question. Which command do you use to update a specific page using yum? Using yum. Okay, so is the yum update and the package name. For example, if you need to update the Apache, for example, yum update the HTTPD, because in Red Hat is HTTPD and not Apache. Apache is in Ubuntu and Debian, and use yum update HTTPD, and we'll update the HTTPD package. This question we call cables. My response was coaxial, but it's fiber optic. PAM allow your Linux administrator to manage authentication policy for various services. This was true. The IP table utility in Linux does not allow administrators to set up, maintain, and inspect the tables of IP filtering rules. This is false because this is what actually the IP tables does. So it's a tricky question. In Linux, what does the sudo command allow a user to do? So you run commands with privilege of another user type, typically the super user. You run command with root or super user privileges. How can you create a new directory in Linux? This was with two responses. One is mkdir directory name, and another one mkdir-p directory name. -p actually will create also a subdirectory if needed. This was related to SSH gnome host. My response was etc SSH gnome host, but seemed the correct response is in this location. This was a random response. I'm not familiar with simplex. I don't know what simplex is. So the correct response seemed to be data can only be sent in one direction and data can be received in one direction only. So one direction for send, one direction only to receive data. Which tool is commonly used to troubleshoot a network connectivity issue? Seem the correct response for them is ping, but for me is traceroute, because if the ping is disabled from ICCMT protocol, if the ping is not allowed, it is not helpful for troubleshooting. You can work in an organization where the ping is disabled, and even from your source terminal, if you ping a reachable VM, the ping will not work, so you have to use traceroute. NSLookup is for DNS, netstat is for check if the ports are opened and enabled, and ifconfig will show your IP. Which command is used to display the status of UFW? UF status verbose. Okay. What is the port used? What service used the port 2049? Is the network file system for file sharing. So if you need to create a file share in the network and that file share be accessed from the network by users or other systems, you use network file system on port 2049. Next question was to align the Linux commands to their respective category. I have responded correctly on all of those. Those are file permission commands: change mode, change the owner, change the group, grep by some pattern, set this to replace a string in a file. AWK is some more powerful grep command if you need to list only specific string or only specific item from a large log or large file. You can combine ls, grep and awk. Those are the usage command. lsblk will list all the disks. This du is a disk usage, and df is df space -h, for example, is to check the file system disk. Coaxial cable was false. This was a simple script. If have security vulnerability and don't have, how can you disable a service from starting on boot? This is simply systemctl disable service name, systemctl status service name to check the status, enable to enable, and stop and start and restart. VMware Consolidation American Framework, this was false. This was related to routing protocol, OSPF, AGRP, and RIP version 2. This is what the source code is doing. You have a function, you have an array, if array I plus 1, 10, echo no, return 1. So sim is listing the list. Check if a list is sorted in ascending order. How does DLP help in migrating insider threads? By preventing unauthorized data transfer and by monitoring user behavior and detecting unusual activities. So this makes sense to mitigate insider threats. OSPF protocol is a distant vector routing protocol which uses hop count as its metric. This was false. Match the following VMware network components to their appropriate categories. I've responded pretty much correct on this, only the port group was not fine. IoT Internet of Things cryptography, I'm not very familiar with this. My response was wrong. SIM scalabilities, one response correct and lightweight. It's possible to automate the creation, modification, and deletion of a virtual machine using VMware Power CLI, and the response was true. In Linux, the command diffconfig is used exclusively for configuring wireless network interface. This was false because it's not used exclusively. So it's a tricky question. The access control list ACL in Linux only support user base dependent, not group or others. Again, false, because this only is not correct. In the context of high availability, what does the term failover mean in Linux? I have responded the process of restarting a failed services, but the correct response is the process of replicating data to a secondary system in real time, and this is the correct response, and this is what actually high availability mean. High availability mean you can replicate data to a system in the real time. For example, if you have in a Azure Cloud or AWS one VM, and for some reason in that region there is a outage, high availability mean to still have that VM available but in other zone or region. So yeah, this is the correct response. Next question, what is the primary purpose of using secure file transfer protocol? To allow for remote file management and file transfer over any reliable data system. So this was the correct response. Which of the following command can be used to check the status of a service in a Linux? This was simple, systemctl service name status or systemctl status service name. And again for stop, start, restart is the same command. Systemctl stop service name or system or service name stop, and the game for stop, start, service status, and restart. What command will you use to list all the members of a group in Linux? This is getEnt group and group name. How can you change the owner of a file in a Linux? And this is the change own, new owner, and file name. For example, if I need to change the owner of test file .txt to be sysadmin, I will use the command chown sysadmin testfile.txt. So this is the correct one, and this is the same, but it's with sudo behind in case you try with a user with a user that are not root but have root privileges. What is the role of the process scheduler in Linux kernel? To control the execution of processes, to decide which processes run at any given time. Regularly conducting of network vulnerability assessment can help an organization stay ahead of emergency threats and vulnerabilities. This is true. Next question is, the use of encryption in network traffic make the process of network traffic analysis and monitoring completely ineffective. This is false because it's not true. This is what actually does the encryption of network traffic. The implementation of network policies do not require regular audits and updates. This is false again because you shouldn't update your system every time update is available. Wi-Fi standards for 5G frequency band. This was Wi-Fi 5, 4, Wi-Fi 4, 5, and 6. Next question. What are the two main types of cloud infrastructure vulnerabilities? Here I respond inadequate access control and misconfiguration of cloud resource. And the correct response was misconfiguration of cloud resources and also unauthorized access of cloud APIs. Next question. How can you install audit-d on Linux system? The correct response is apt-get install audit-d for Ubuntu and Debian and yum install audit-d for Red Hat and CentOS. This was a question for support free key size for IIS was true, 128, 192 and 256. Next question was match the Linux command to their appropriate category, file and directory commands. This is for list, change directory, show current working directory, show the processes, show the processes and the resource consumption in real time, kill a process or a PID. These are network commands. iptable show all the iptable rules. Netstat is to check if a port is opened. For example, netstat space hyphen tulpn pipe grep port 80, for example, or you can grep also by service. Grep HTTPS will show if a port is opened or closed, is allowed or not. If config will show the IPs from the VM. Cryptography question. What does the Was another agreement control with respect? I don't know what is. I was response wrong. The export of dual-use goods and techniques, including cryptographic equipment, so this was the correct response. How can you protect sensitive data in Linux environment? By using encryption and by using secure coding practices. The ps command in Linux can only provide information about the current shell processes, and this false because here is the tricky. Only provide is not only provide information about the current shell processes, actually will provide the information about the processes but not current shell processes, all the processes from the VM. What do you think about these interview questions and response? Do you think are still relevant for 2026? I get this assessment 3 weeks ago, so is recent. Please make a comment with what are your opinions about this test. What do you think? They are still relevant? They can be improved? Please ping a comment with your opinion. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.